King Solomon, a lawyer and judge, wrote in the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes, "Someone who falls alone is in real trouble." The mission of the State Bar's Texas Lawyer Assistance Program, TLAP, is to ensure that no lawyer who slips or falls is alone. When the stresses of professional and personal life drive a lawyer to substance abuse and depression, help is available through TLAP. But a lawyer has to know when it's happening, personally or to a friend, and has to have the courage to ask for help. Lawyers are trained to be advocates, champions for others, to take on clients' needs, to fight for them, to win. Any weakness, especially a personal weakness, seems contrary to what lawyering is about. In reality, it's just another problem to overcome. And no Texas lawyer needs struggle alone. TLAP provides confidential, respectful, and effective assistance to lawyers and law students throughout our state. If you find yourself slipping or see a colleague struggling, do the right thing. Get help. TLAP is there.
I graduated from high school in 1964 and was drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in 1967. Had a chance to play professional baseball. Ended up teaching school for a couple of years after my baseball days were over. Graduated from Southern Illinois University in 1970. Applied to St. Mary's Law School in 71. Graduated from St. Mary's Law School in 74. Had one child and another on the way. By 1978, my wife Harriet and I were moving into a nice home in the Oak Hills area of San Antonio. I had a job working for Oliver Hurd's firm. Two sons and a daughter we had been blessed with by that time. Had a Porsche in the driveway, had membership at Oak Hills Country Club, Spurs season tickets. The firm had a condo at the coast in Port Aransas. Life was good. No one ever forced me to take a drink or smoke anything or snort anything. You know, I did it very freely and voluntarily. You know, my mom and dad didn't have a problem. My sister didn't have a problem. But somewhere in the early 80s, I crossed this invisible line and didn't even realize it.
You know, I had the car, I had the job, I come from a loving home. I come from a family that, you know, my mom and dad, every time I glued a pinto bean on a piece of construction paper, they were there cheering, telling me how awesome I was. You know, and my story just wasn't the story that I saw in Hollywood. You know, it wasn't the story that I saw on TV. And so it took me a while to figure out, hey girl, you know, it's not normal to lock yourself in your home for 4 days. It's not normal to black out drink, you know, every night for 3 weeks. It's not normal to think your car is stolen because you drove it home and don't remember where you parked it. You know, I look at it as a stoplight. And there was no yellow light. It was green and red. I was either going and blowing and drinking and partying and out in front of everybody, or I was a red light. And I was totally isolating, not answering my phone, not answering my door when my parents would come by and knock.
I had a practice that had flatlined. I had a family in tatters, a reputation that I'd worked very hard to establish, gone. What I tell people is that it was almost bone grinding, hopelessness, despair, self-loathing, guilt, shame. When you see 12 years of hard work as a lawyer and reputation and leader, I mean, I sat on the board of trustees at Duke Divinity School in my active addiction. I was that good at quote-unquote hiding it, but you see opportunities like that fade away. You're unable to even do what were formerly the simplest of tasks. You become professionally almost incapacitated.
You know, I was just paralyzed with fear of inadequacy and fear that I was a terrible lawyer, fear that I didn't deserve the job that I had, that I wasn't capable of doing a good job. And I would let that fear just paralyze me and I was unable to work at all. I mean, I remember several times just staring at a computer screen, just trying to get that brief started, or just trying to respond, amend a pleading. And I just couldn't do it because all of these emotions and fears and insecurities, all a part of my depression would come storming in, and it would render me incapable.
I've learned now that, alcoholism and chemical dependency can be cunning, baffling, and powerful, and when you're in the throes of it, you don't recognize it. In fact, you stay in denial.
I'm an alcoholic. That's what I did. I mean, when I had feelings, I had to get alcohol, whether it was happiness, because I didn't feel like I deserved to be happy, whether it was shame, or whether it was just anger, sadness, stress. I managed every feeling I had with alcohol, and depression was no exception. And so what would happen would be I would just go on drinking binges when I would start feeling really low and really depressed. And I was taking medication at the time too for my depression, and so that wasn't working. It wasn't able to work.
And these emotions become so intense. And so you got to numb those out. And so it becomes this cycle, this death spiral of numb out, feel worse. Oh, use more, feel worse. Oh, use more, feel worse. And it's just this spiral that goes down and down, and it speeds up. And once that board is sort of pulled out of the drain, it just goes straight down. And it happens really fast. I mean, some people will circle the drain for a very long time. We joke around sometimes and say that your bottom is when you stop digging. I didn't know how to stop digging. I just didn't. I got a master's from Duke, a law degree, a philosophy degree, cum laude major. I'm not a dummy. But all the intelligence and willpower that I could muster, I couldn't stop. I did not know how to stop. I stopped, but I couldn't stay stopped.
The 80s for me are like a lost decade. The divorce came in 86, bankruptcy came in 88, I drowned the Porsche in 89, the kids weren't speaking to me. I got arrested for the second time in my life, Mother's Day weekend, 1990, for writing hot checks. On that particular occasion, my son Mike, who had come to live with me after the divorce, watched me get handcuffed and put into a police car. I was very lonely. I isolated, kind of pacing back and forth like a caged animal. It had really upset all the people that cared about me, my mom and dad, my sister, my former wife, the kids. No one was really paying much attention to me. Former wife Harriet had purchased 2 black dresses. She knew I was going to die. She didn't know it was going to be the winter or the summer.
It's scary. It's very, the depths of hopelessness and despair that you're just marinating in for months on end sometimes. There were times when I would pray, please don't let me wake up. Because you just get tired of that hustle,
Actually stood on a chair, put a rope around my neck, and couldn't take that step. Had a couple guns in the house. I put a round of ammunition, and I couldn't pull the trigger. So, I got to that place that I've heard others talk about where I didn't want to live and I couldn't die.
I remember feeling like, I don't care if I live or die. I don't care if I wake up tomorrow. I just felt like there was no way that I was going to get better, that this was how my life was going to look for the next 50 years. And I just didn't want to live that way anymore. But I didn't know how to make it stop, how to make the madness stop. I just didn't know how, because what I knew was when I was drinking, I wasn't thinking about my depression. Even though, I know now that one just fed the other, but that was just how I chose to manage everything. I chose to manage my life by drinking, and what I didn't realize was how unmanageable my life actually was.
I don't know how many times I looked in the mirror, hungover the next morning, and I'd ask myself, Tom, what are you doing? You need to stop. And then I'd look in the mirror, and I'd say, well, what if you try to stop and you can't? What's that make you? And I didn't want to answer that. I didn't want to admit that I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, but in fact I was. And it took a lot of pain, and I had to hurt a lot of people, including myself, to finally recognize and become aware that I had this disease, this chronic, progressive, fatal disease of alcoholism that the American Medical Association in 1956 came out and recognized. And I know, that I needed help. And we're so stubborn to ask for help. Lawyers, professional people. And it was the best thing I could have done.
It takes professionals. I mean, nobody in here, what do we say? The lawyer who represents himself as a fool for a client? The person in their active addiction who tries to fix himself is in the exact same boat. You need professional help sometimes. And fortunately, I had some friends who intervened and said, you need help, and we've made arrangements to get you the type of help that you need. And I remember just this deep breath of, it's over. And that's what got me started in the recovery.
Well, when I first called Tlap, I honestly expected a voice machine, or to have to press 1 for this, press 3 for that, and someone answered the phone right away. And that was so critical, because I know, I worry that if someone hadn't answered the phone, that I just would have put it off another day. But I didn't have to, because someone was there. I think also part of me expected to be judged a little bit, and it wasn't like that at all. And I felt cared for, I felt comfortable, I felt unjudged, I felt like I was in the hands of some professionals that really knew what they were doing. And I felt comfortable that the advice that I was getting was sound advice, and it was a very positive experience for me.
We went to an assessment. Yeah, you're a candidate for treatment, all right. I can laugh about that now. At the time, it was pretty sobering, if you'll pardon the pun. Because of where I was professionally and financially, I wasn't in a position to help myself with that. I was a solo. I didn't have health insurance at the time, as most solos don't. So Tlap was my only resource that I had. So I contacted Tlap, and they got to work immediately on getting the funding and help and stuff that I needed to make treatment a reality. So Tlap took a huge pressure, financial pressure off of me by dealing directly with my providers. For example, they would bill Tlap directly, and Tlap, yeah, we have it covered. And they did that because I'm a lawyer. See what you did?
Sorry, I started it. This is tough stuff.
It is tough stuff, because I don't know where I would be at without Tlap. I really don't, because I don't know of any other professional funding mechanism for treatment in any other professional organization that enjoys the same amount of care and concern that Tlap gives lawyers in positions like I'm at.
I found the Texas Lawyers Assistance Program to be an invaluable tool. If you're suffering from alcoholism or chemical dependency, or think you have a problem in those areas, or have been down in the dumps and in your cave too long, I really encourage you to pick up the phone and call Tlap. It's not the grievance committee. We're here to help you.
It's anonymous, it's confidential. Tlap can get someone in their area to go talk to them if they're ready. You know, a phone call happens first. It's just better safe than sorry, because what you have, you know, if it's your law partner, you have a malpractice suit case just waiting to happen.
I'm very grateful for what Tlap has done in that regard, because were it not for them, I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing this interview. And that was 4 years, 18 days ago. So that's a big deal to me. Tlap means an awful, awful lot to me. They didn't just help save my career, they saved my life. And I mean that literally. There's no question about it.
I was wondering how to celebrate my 25th AA birthday if I can make it between here and November 11th. And I gave it a lot of thought, and I want to take everybody to Disney World in Orlando. So I count my blessings. I continue to go to 2 or 3 meetings a week. I continue to stay involved with the Tlap program. I never want to get too cocky, too complacent, too arrogant that I think I've got this thing licked.
When I made that call to Tlap and I got the help that I needed, my life became hopeful. I got answers. I felt, with the help of Tlap, I felt equipped to have a successful professional journey, and I would say peaceful. I feel like my life has gone from chaos to peace.
I know what happiness is. I know what, real happiness, how that's not contingent upon the world around you. Gratitude, honesty, character, capacity, life, hope. And I'm very grateful for second chances. Just a chance to get it right this time.
When a lawyer calls Tlap, they'll speak directly to one of our trained professional staff. And all of us are lawyers, so we know what it's like to practice law, and we know the demands and stresses of the profession. Most importantly, we care. We want Texas lawyers to know that there is hope and that Tlap is here to help. Lastly, Texas lawyers need to know, should they need financial assistance, the SHEERAN CROWLEY Trust has been established to help with expenses related to treatment and recovery.
The Patrick D. SHEERAN and Michael J. Crowley Memorial Trust was founded by members of Texas Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers around the state in 1995. Please know that any dollar sent to the trust will be used directly to assist a member of our profession in recovering from one of those seemingly helpless states of mind and body, and get that individual, him or her, back on the road to recovering his or her practice, his or her family, his or her life.
The mission of the Texas Bar College is professionalism through education. We firmly believe that the more legal education attorneys have, the better we can serve our clients as well as the public. The college supports Tlap because our missions actually converge. Tlap wants attorneys to be able to do their best at all times, and that's what the college wants as well.
When you make that call to Tlap, you're not only helping that lawyer, but you're helping that lawyer's family, you're helping that lawyer's colleagues, and you're doing your part to make ours a better profession.
And Tlap gave me a way to get out, a damn good way. I mean, it's extraordinary where I'm at today as compared to where I was just a few short years ago.